Hey internet friends, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. If you have delicate sensibilities that cannot be offended by facts and reality, then get out, but I think as an American, all of us who live in this country need to know about our country's history. And part of history is the scandals that are covered up by those who write history, right? So today I'm going to talk about a huge cover-up, and it's called the Franklin Credit Union scandal. I'm going to try to summarize the entire scandal in under 5 minutes. The Franklin cover-up begins with one man, a prominent Republican figure of the 1980s, Lawrence King, or Larry King as he was known, and no, we're not talking about the talk show host. Larry King ran the Franklin Credit Union and a few other businesses in Franklin, Nebraska, a man who chartered private jets, hosted extravagant parties, and maintained bodyguards, was simply in charge of a credit union in a little town of Nebraska, which happened to be located near Boys Town, a Catholic institution for orphaned youth. King's bright yellow sports car was frequently seen on the Boys Town campus, and later, King was linked to embezzlement. He'd stolen over $40 million from the Franklin Credit Union, and his financial records revealed a close-knit relationship with Boys Town. King's lavish lifestyle burst into flames in 1988, just before the Republican National Convention, when 7 victims of King's child abuse and prostitution stepped forward. The victims claimed that King took them to various parties that he threw for the Republican elite, and at these parties, the children were abused. Rusty Nelson, the photographer for Larry King, attended these parties, documenting powerful men in compromising positions with minors as a form of blackmail for King. In a court hearing in 1999, Rusty Nelson revealed his close relationship with King. Nelson relayed that he had witnessed King phone President Reagan when other individuals couldn't resolve a specific problem. In other words, a man with abuse and child prostitution allegations had a direct line to the then president. One of King's victims who spoke out 2 years before there even was a Franklin scandal was Paul Bonacci. Paul relayed that at the age of 8, he began attending King's parties as a child prostitute. Paul claimed that Democratic Senator Barney Frank had abused him, and he was given midnight tours of the White House, only to be taken to a separate location shortly thereafter and abused. A judge awarded $1 million to Paul in his testimony against King, but King never paid. The other victims who spoke out against King were awarded only doubt and contempt for naming their abuser. A list of 271 victims of King's abuse was compiled, all recalling the same story: being taken to parties by King and abused by prominent figures. The New York Times revealed that both federal and state investigators were given thousands of files from abused children and their testimonies, but instead of bringing those victims justice, Douglas County and federal grand juries ordered the files to be sealed, neglected to interview witnesses, and even filed charges of perjury. Both grand juries agreed that the 2 victims who spoke out were abused, but deduced that the adults they testified against were innocent. Instead of getting these victims the help they so desperately needed, the state-appointed attorney only mocked the allegations. Some of the victims were thrown in jail and discredited by local media. Larry King was never called to testify. Evidence shown to the grand jury had been tampered with. Victims were targeted as a result of their testimonies. After giving his testimony, one victim was found in a hospital room dead. There was evidence that he was drugged and beaten prior to his death. In total, there were 15 suspicious deaths surrounding the Franklin cover-up. In 1993, a documentary detailing the Franklin cover-up, called The Conspiracy of Silence, was produced by the Discovery Channel. And the day it was set to be aired, it didn't. Rumors were that someone paid $500,000 to revoke the television rights. But now you can find the documentary online and watch it. So why is the Franklin cover-up important to bring up now? I believe if we never learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it.
The media immediately started discrediting the witnesses. The witnesses came across in the media, in the Omaha World Herald especially, as the criminals.
The last 3 victim witnesses were demolished by the press, particularly the Omaha World Herald.
And they didn't ask me very much about Larry King or even Alan Bear at all. They treated the allegations that I made about the about the people who abused me almost like a joke.
Apparently, some alt-right folks were combing through Clinton campaign emails hacked by Russia and published by WikiLeaks and noticed there seems to be more references to pizza and pizzerias than they had expected. A lot of uninformed, gullible people fell for the Clinton Podesta sex ring theory. So WikiLeaks, Alex Jones, and these subreddit subgeniuses, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, grow the up.